citizens to leave amid concerns over what's being described as a specific and immediate threat. Intercepted information from Al-Qaeda's leadership had already led the US government to close 19 embassies on Sunday. As our security correspondent Frank Gardner reports, the BBC has been told that Al-Qaeda militants have been gathering in Yemen's capital for an attack.
Getting out of Yemen, Western expatriates heading for the airport today as the US and Britain warned their citizens to leave amid fears of a major terrorist attack. Britain has closed its embassy. It's now empty but guarded, its staff flown home. The US Air Force flew Americans out in this plane at dawn. The State Department said it was a necessary precaution.
Our focus is on keeping both our personnel and citizens who are traveling overseas safe. We make decisions on a daily basis. This decision and the announcement this morning was based as a response to an immediate specific threat.
The reason behind all of this is intercepted messages between Al-Qaeda leaders. The US says that it's overheard a conversation between this man, Nasser al-Wahaishi in Yemen, and the Al-Qaeda leader, Dr. Ayman al-Zawahiri, over in Pakistan. Their conversation reportedly spoke of a strategic attack on US interests. Washington believes it could be the most serious plot since 9/11. And in response, it's closed 19 embassies around the whole region. Al-Qaeda's fighters in Yemen have access to trucks, explosives and volunteers. They've also placed bombs onto international flights 3 times now, including to Detroit with the so-called Pants bomber. The BBC has learned that Yemeni counter-terrorism forces, seen here training, are on high alert after detecting several Al-Qaeda operatives arriving in the capital, believed preparing an attack.
Well, as we heard in Frank Gardner's report there, the warning about increased security concerns came shortly after a US drone strike killed 4 suspected Al-Qaeda militants. The BBC's Yalda Hakim has just returned from Yemen. She travelled to the heart of Al-Qaeda territory to talk to people whose family members have been killed in what they say are drone strikes.
Yemen is one of the front lines in America's war against Al-Qaeda. The number of drone strikes here has tripled between 2011 and 2012, according to a US think tank. But for farmer Ahmed al-Sabuli, it comes at a high human cost. He was working in the fields one day when he heard a big blast. He jumped on his motorbike to go and see what had happened. When he got there, he saw that 2 missiles had hit a truck.
أبدي أشوف لهم أرى أبي وأمي وأختي عندما نظرت عيني هكذا والله أراهم قد أحرقوا مع عدلاء العظام حرقوا حتى أنهم صاروا كالفحم عند على ما أمي باضعت أختي في الشاء.
Ahmed's family were among 13 people killed in the Yemeni town of Radar last September. This footage was given to us by a local journalist. Survivors say they saw at least 1 drone and 2 planes hovering overhead. The target was probably a local Al-Qaeda leader travelling on the same stretch of road. The United States has never officially acknowledged that it carried out the strike, though the Yemeni government paid $75,000 in blood money to the families. With drone strikes an established part of the US strategy to combat Al-Qaeda, a Yemeni youth activist has a worrying message for Washington.
The United States thinks it understands Yemen. But the drones have been, I think, one of the most effective tools of LQIB to succeed in Yemen. Big part of Al-Qaeda's power at the moment is by convincing Yemenis that they are in a war with America, and America is attacking the sovereignty of Yemen, and this government is non-legitimate.
But the Yemeni foreign minister rejects this analysis.
I've heard this argument. There might be some truth in it, but I think the fact is that if your targets are Al-Qaeda leaders, and if they are endangering the security of your country, there is no alternative.
The Foreign Minister also says the accidental killing of innocent civilians is an unfortunate side effect of war. But that's little comfort for people like Ahmed. He knows his fight for justice is a long and lonely one.
Yelda Hakim reporting there. Well, with me in the studio is politician Dr. Mohammed Qubaty, who's a member of Yemen's National Dialogue Conference and former advisor to the Yemeni Prime Minister. Doctor, thank you very much for joining us and being on the programme.
Sure.
We're hearing from Frank's report there and also from Yelda's report that the capital Sana'a is now experiencing clearly unprecedented security measures. You've just returned from Sana'a yesterday, I think.
Yes.
What was it like? What were people saying? What was the atmosphere like there?
Well, a lot of heightened, situation whereby you could see armored vehicles everywhere around the presidential palace, in the streets, around the embassies and around big hotels. So people were wary that there's something unusual going on around.
What were people saying to you? Were they surprised, or were they thinking, okay, this was to be expected?
I think people are not surprised at what is happening, because they knew earlier on that there's something going on, especially after the closure of the 20 embassies around the world, of the American and UK embassies and French and German embassies. So they were expecting something, but since this morning things have gone very different,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a security source confirmed to the BBC that Yemeni intelligence services had discovered that dozens of Al-Qaeda members had arrived in Sana'a over the past few days in preparation for the implementation of this large plot. Where do we go from here?
Well, we've heard as well, part of that story, that a drone attack this morning managed to kill 4 of those people, one of them, at least one, on the list.
You're talking about US drone attacks on Al-Qaeda
yes, the drone attack, yes. And these drone attacks had been, the whole exercise has been expanded, I think. Obviously, over the past 1 week or 2 weeks, there were 4 drone attacks reported. So things are going towards the position where people thought it might one day turn out to be, because Al-Qaeda is, with the recent developments in Iraq, where we have got some of the prisoners who managed to escape from the jails in Iraq and also in Libya, people thought that they might end up in Yemen, and that could cause further, escalation of the situation there.
So what do you mean? Are you saying that Yemen is now very much the hub for terror activity, the centre of Al-Qaeda plans and plots across the Arab Peninsula?
Yes, it has been known for that. The Al-Qaeda affiliate in Yemen is the most, perhaps, sophisticated, and it has been for the past 3-4 years.
So what happens then? What happens to US relations now with Yemen?
I don't think the US relations would be at all affected. On the contrary, our President Hadi, was just last week in Washington, and he met President Obama, where President Obama praised very much the Yemeni cooperation for counter-terrorism, activities, and we know that and we expected that the U.S. counter-terrorism measures will be heightened, perhaps, and it will expand in the coming months, especially with Al-Qaeda trying to make use of the opportunities that got in Yemen.
Appreciate you joining us, Doctor. Thank you so much. Dr. Mohammed Qubaty there.
Now let's take a quick look at some